Okay, so we've gotten inside of Knight's Armament. I don't think anybody saw me get in, but we're about to go in there, see Trey Knight, and have a little talk with him about the SR-25. So let's go. Okay, so we're here with Trey Knight. He's the Vice President of Sales and Marketing here at Knight's Armament. So today I guess we're going to talk a little bit about the SR-25. We're on limited time, so let's get started. Tell me a little bit about the rifle, what you guys do here, and what Knight's Armament's all about.
All right, we'll try to do that in 30 seconds or less, so to speak. The SR-25 is one of Gene Stoner's last creations. And for you guys that don't know, Gene Stoner is the original designer of the M16 rifle. So he worked with us, worked with my father, was my father's kind of mentor and friend, and designed the SR-25. And SR-25 actually comes from AR-15 and AR-10, which was the original gun, those numbers put together. So, you know, it has a long lineage with the original designer of the M16. It's been adopted by pretty much every government agency, from first with the Navy adopted it as the Mark 11. The Army is the M110, and the Marine Corps now actually uses it as well. So it's a inter-service-wide standard semi-automatic rifle. Knight's Armament Company's been around for a bit. We're not really a high profile. You're not going to pick up every magazine and see an advertisement from us, but we do have a long history building everything from from complete rifles to rail systems to sound suppressors and muzzle brakes to night vision. So we pretty much do it all, and we do it all right here in this building.
It's really impressive, and I've said it a few times on the way down here, is that you guys do a lot of your stuff in-house, pretty much everything as a matter of fact. So you want to go out there on the factory floor, show us a few of the processes, and give everyone a better idea of what goes into each gun.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sounds good. Okay, so we're going to start with the first process on the SR-25. Tell us what we've got here.
Yeah, this is aluminum extrusion. So a lot of the components for the SR-25 are aluminum, and much like a lot of the other products that we build, and that comes to us in an extruded shape, so these long lengths. We take it over to the saw and cut it into usable pieces, and it's loaded on a cart and then move to the CNC machine. So this is aluminum extrusion to make the URXs for the SR-25.
How many of these guns are you putting out, say, in a month?
It just depends. The commercial gun we'll build more of. Typically for a military production gun, with all the testing and a lot of the requirements for the way that they're packaged, our limit is less than 200 guns a month.
That's not too bad. That's a lot of guns.
That's a few.
Okay, so we're at the next step in the process on the SR-25. Tell us what we've got here.
Well, you've got basically here's the extrusion cut into lengths, just like we saw over there, and this is just as it was cut. So it's raw material, and this is the first operation of the machining. So what they're going to do is they're going to do the initial removing of the material here. So you can see all the internal machinings done to this rail. The outside is still in the same form that it was, but all the cuts have been made on the inside, and you can see, you know, how much basically material is removed from the part at this phase.
Okay, we're at the next step. This looks like, this doesn't look extruded, this looks forged. Tell us about this piece you've got here.
Right, well, this is the actual lower receiver for the SR-25, and it does in fact come in a forged shape. So this is how we receive the material. So this material is struck and formed into the basic shape of, as you can recognize, the lower receiver for the gun. Obviously, there's a lot of material and a lot of machining that needs to be done to this, but it is it's a much closer state to the final product when we receive this piece.
That's pretty cool. It is nice. So these come to you just like this, in this form?
They do, just like this, yep.
That definitely saves a lot of time.
That's right.
Okay, let's move on to the next step.
Sounds good.
Looks like this is our piece after all the machining has been done. How long does it take to do all that machining?
I'd have to check on and give you a runtime on it. It's a matter of minutes. It happens very quickly. Obviously, this is first operation again, so all just the internal cuts are made. You can see how it's threaded in the back here for the buffer tube, and the cutout for the trigger area, and the basic cutout for the magazine is done there too. The trigger and it's threaded for the pistol grip. So you know, you've got probably about 3 or 4 ops that are done to this part to get it to this phase here, and this is all done all at one time while it's in the machine. So then it's removed from the machine, and what they call the second operation, or the second time you fixture it, and they'll do a lot of the cuts on the outside of it.
That's really cool. What kind of machine does all of the work here?
Again, it's a CNC mill, so a mill. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on, see what else you got. Moved along a little bit. What do we have here? This looks a little bit more important.
Yeah, this is a bolt carrier. So again, I always call like the bolt carrier and the bolt and a gun kind of like the motor. You know, the external components are obviously important, but these components, you know, really have to do with the reliability and in some cases the accuracy of the gun. So here you can see our bolt carrier, and it's fairly far along in its phases. There's obviously some heat treating and different ways at which material is removed from this part that I'm not going to really go into on camera, but you can see this in this stage, and you know, it's before plating and everything else, but you can really see from the lack of machine marks and the way the part looks, we take a lot of care to, so to speak, to build this specific component by looking at the finishes on it.
Absolutely, there's a lot of machine work there. That's a very impressive piece. Okay, so these machines here look a little bit different. I just want to stress that you guys, we're not in the same room as we go from station to station. Every process we show, there's an entire room just to do that process. So what do we have here?
Yeah, this is the lathe department. So this is the type of machine that's in here. It's called a lathe, and the part spins and it removes the material while the part's spinning. So this is a buffer. You know, that's out of a rifle. So it's a piece of aluminum that's machined, hollowed out in the middle, and then he gets this outside profile. So again, this is just to show you a different type of equipment than the mills, and a lot of times the parts will have either are built completely on a lathe, or there's a lathe operation, and then it goes into the mill department where it's finished up.
Very nice, very nice. So I was impressed with the machinery out there on the floor, but now I'm really impressed. You got a lot of guns here. Tell us what we've got.
Yeah, well, this is obviously a batch of M110s as the U.S. Army receives them. So these have been painted. The new plastic will be put on, so that we paint them with so to speak, sacrificial plastic. So then this is fresh out of the paint shop, and you know, after it's completely assembled and tested and everything, and then they'll replace the plastic, mount the scope, do some further acceptance testing, and package these things up and ship them to the guys.
Can I ask exactly how many rifles? Well, you don't know exactly. About how many rifles do you think we've got in this room?
Well, you're going to have, you know, roughly 24 per rack. So, you know, I'd say there's about 500 and 600 guns behind us here. Most of these are commercial guns, so you see a lot of 5.56 commercial guns mixed in with the back row over there is some military guns. So a lot of the tan guns or the flat dark earth guns that you see are slated for our U.S. military.
That's really impressive. He's got almost as many guns as I've got in my bedroom.
Okay,
so
we've seen how the SR-25 is built. We've learned a little bit about what its purpose is in the field. Now we're going to put a few rounds down range and just see just how accurate this thing is. So let's get started. Okay, so we're set up here at our bench. Going to see just what kind of accuracy we can get out of our SR-25. Going to send 3 to 5 rounds down range, see what we can do. This was my 3-shot group after I settled in a little bit, stopped twitching so much from last night, and this is actually 0.114 inches, so that is an excellent group. And I'm going to be honest, all of that I attribute to that rifle. It's an excellent rifle. It's very accurate. Okay, so one last thing. I've got Knight's Armament's thermal scope on here, and we're going to shoot some jugs down there. It's actually so hot out here today that I've got the jugs full of ice water to show up, and we're just going to invert the settings. So let's just see how real-life thermal looks. Okay, so like I said, I've got those jugs of ice water down there. Should be an easy job. They're glowing really bright white, so let's take them out. That's absolutely incredible. When you've got thermal like this, nothing is going to get away from you day or night. And I'm really impressed. This is the first time I've played with thermal, done anything like this. And I really hope the footage from that we're capturing over here on my laptop comes out. We've been through it a couple of times, but what's cool about the SR25 is you get the same level of quality that goes out to the consumer like you, that goes overseas to the snipers that are in the field. So SR25 is one hell of a rifle. Well, that is, I think, all we got for you today. Hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, have a nice day.